Okay, good morning, everybody. Before we get started with the business, we're going to get board officer notes and settle with prayer.
May we pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, and thank you for the beauty and glory of the earth. Dear Father, thank you for the season that you've given us, for the renewal of life and all that it presents. Dear Father, also as we approach Memorial Day, help us to remember those who have fought and died to secure and to preserve our freedoms. Help us to teach those who follow after us the precious cost of freedom and how valuable it is and how blessed we are to live in a country where we can express our freedoms in such a way. Dear Father, we ask for your wisdom and guidance as we make decisions. We pray for your blessings on this county and on all the people that live in it. We pray for your peace, dear Father, through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And all these things I pray in your name, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We got two elected officials here. Dave, won't you stand up and Vernon stand up for a second? Thank y'all for coming. Appreciate you guys. Anybody want to hear the minutes from April 15th meeting?
Move to approve this printing.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, is Joe here? Who's going to do the FBO report today?
Don't even have it.
I have it.
No, I have it. The report from last month: 110 takeoffs, 114 landings, 158 touch and goes, 25 visitors to the ramp, average 2.27 transactions per day. Obviously, these numbers don't represent the air show, and the air show obviously did affect those numbers as we basically were closed to any traffic other than air show traffic for about 5 days. So,
I have a couple more figures we can add to that. The air show performers, the military performers, about $25,000 worth of fuel. And the air show team, the non-military, about $12,000 worth of fuel from the FBS. So they had a good month. Good month. Anybody got any questions for the FBS? All right. Blake, Capital Wildlife Report.
yeah, we finally got the wildlife report back from USDA. I did forward all of you copies of that report, so you all should have it. We got it, the date on the report is May 6th, so we've had it for a couple of weeks now. I have forwarded this to Georgia Department of Transportation and the FAA. Also forwarded it to our consultants as well for everyone's review. No surprises. We've got problems with birds, we've got problems with coyotes, we've got problems with deer. So those are our primary issues and our primary concerns. There are recommendations in the study, and we will move forward with trying to implement the recommendations that are in the report. I also wanted to add, I was taking someone out around the airport a couple of days ago to take a look at a location for some honeybees. We're going to be placing some honeybees out around the airport as continuing our green initiative at the airport that we've had pretty much ever since we started the airport. And as we were going around the end of runway 1 and 3, a white-tailed deer ran right across the end of the runway safety area right in the middle of the day. So this continues, obviously a good problem. We've known for a long, long time it's a problem. So now that we have our report and we've been able to issue that, get that out to everybody, we'll move forward with trying to put some additional mitigation processes in place. So if there's any questions on the study or anything else, be glad to answer those.
It appears that regarding the bird problem, that's the type of grass that we have growing out there at the airport. We need some type of low maintenance grass that doesn't produce seed heads. When the type of grass we have produces seed heads, you have a lot of different types of birds that feeds on those seed heads and attracts birds. So that's something I know the whole. Actually, I believe it stayed in there at brood sage is one thing we've got a lot of out there, and so that's something that's a long-term process, I guess, in getting that changed over where we got a low maintenance grass on the whole airport.
It is. Vegetation is a big issue for us out at the airport, not just with the grass, but with all the vegetation at the airport is a really big issue. We also do have a little bit of water that's holding it in our detention ponds, so we're going to have to do some maintenance on those detention ponds to get the water out of there. So we've got several different things that we've got to take care of, but getting this report was step one, so that we hopefully can get some grant funding from the state and FAA to help out with those issues.
Blake, do we still have our recurring NOTAM for extensive wildlife around the airport in place?
No, the FAA has kind of sort of taken a position on NOTAMs that they don't want long-term standing NOTAMs.
Right.
So it's something that now that you mention it, probably we should put it on our AWOS.
Yeah.
That's something that we control and we can alter
Right.
as needed. So good thought. We'll get that on the AWOS.
I can take care of the AWAS for us, and you want to just consider issuing like a 30-day recurring NOTAM for the rest of it, the wildlife?
Yeah, I'll talk with the FAA's NOTAM office and see if they're okay with doing a short term like that.
I think that'd be good for early morning arrivals or late arrivals after dark. Just
Yeah.
give the operators some awareness that we have that kind of activity around the airport.
Yeah.
And also probably needs to be in the airport facility director too.
Yeah, I agree. That's right.
How about geese? Got any geese out there?
Very rarely, very rarely. Occasionally they'll stop in, but they're usually only there for a day or two. And same with the ducks. We don't see a lot of duck activity. The water that's in the detention ponds it's not a large pool of water. It's just it's a very small amount, and it's kind of dispersed. So I don't think it's enough water to attract geese or other waterfowl. Obviously, that lake, Gold Mine Lake, does attract some, and that's a mile or so to the south of us. But on the airport,
Those are the real showstoppers for geese.
It's a showstopper as far as takeoffs and engine intakes and that kind of thing. You see that problem all over the United States, especially with Canadian geese. But our concern is more with the deer, because a deer strike on a runway can total an airplane and kill folks. So that's a bigger issue.
Anybody got anything else about the wildlife? Okay, like move on in with our show.
Invited Dave Carmichael to come today to talk to you about the one portion of the air show, which was the Veterans Luncheon on Friday. That was something that I don't know if all of you got to attend that or not, but it was just an absolutely fantastic event. Keep hearing over and over and over and over as to how much the veterans appreciated that. Since the Salute America Air Show was originally established in 2012 to honor our veterans and our active duty military, I thought that was something that we should make sure that everyone was aware of. Thank you, Dave.
I'm gonna multitask and give Yolanda a massage while I'm taking Wish I'd gone over there.
Yeah.
Kerry Tidmore and I sat in a Las Vegas restaurant 4+ years ago and said, what are we gonna name this thing? Just kind of popped up, Salute America. And for me to have the privilege of being the director of the veterans, it's my blessing, it's my privilege. Kind of like most of y'all probably gone to a mission trip. You think, I'm going to go do this for the people, and you get there and you're the one that gets blessed. Well, everything that I did for with the veterans in the organization of it, I was the one that got the blessing. I think most of you being at the Board of Commissioners meeting last week have heard my remarks about it. First year we had 30, then we had 40 the second year, and this year we had 120. A lot of you are in the room here, and a lot of you that serve the veterans that are also in the room, got the same kind of blessing that I did from being involved in it. But these 120 veterans got to our beautiful terminal there and walked in the entrance, and some volunteer wives were there to put a name tag on them, and then they were directed out to the President's tent that Shanna Fields was the director of. She did a great job. But these veterans walked through down a hallway of 10 warbirds, 5 on each side, and I'm sure it brought back a lot of memories. And good on Joe Sarber for positioning those warbirds, because they really replaced in other locations around the airfield for the event. So it was a lot of extra work for Joe, and I commend him for that, because then he had to move them out of the way pretty quickly for the practice show. Then when they got to the President's tent, They walked in and they were greeted by Cindy Thompson and Jessica Morehouse and the rest of Shanna's team. And I tell you, they just felt like royalty. That's what the feedback has been, that they've never gotten that much attention. So we just had a good meal from Jim and Nick's and John Henderson State Farm, here local guy that's been in the county a long time. Sponsored that meal along with Jim and Nick's sponsoring selling it to us at cost. And we just had a little program, sang together, prayed together. We had people stand up according to their age. There were 6 veterans that were 90 years and older. 3 of them were 93, and that was just amazing to me. And the different people from different conflicts, like Howard back here in Vietnam, stood up, and the Purple Hearts stood up, and I just got kind of teary-eyed. So, there are a few other veterans that I didn't want to forget. We had Hilliard Perry from the Tuskegee Airmen that was there, a black gunner in a B-25, and John Hutchison, who lives here locally, probably about a block from the old courthouse. World War II, had a Japanese samurai sword hit him in the helmet in a foxhole at Iwo Jima. He lives right here and goes to the Methodist church here. There were 3 brothers, the Bowman brothers. Earl, the oldest, 90, was World War II, of course. And then Philip was in Korea, and Russell, the 3rd brother, who was at our event, wasn't in any conflict. But it was neat to have 3 brothers there. There's a guy named Glenn Ernsworth, who's an Air Force pilot, flew F-100 Weasels in Korea and in Vietnam, and got the Silver Star. Shot down a couple of planes in Vietnam. George Geiger, I guess Chairman Austin gave me his name. And thank you all for giving me names. Just about everybody in here gave me a couple of names that I wouldn't have known about. George Geiger was Vietnam and had 6 helicopters shot out from under him. So, I could go on and on with the different stories, leaving a lot of people out, but I'm just honored that they were honored, and I look forward to the next one. I appreciate all y'all did to contribute to serving them and to giving me the names. And if I'm supposed to talk about veterans, I guess that's it.
Well, I want everybody to give David a call. What he did was probably the most important thing at the whole air show. No question about it. When he asked for the veterans who had been wounded to stand up, I don't think it was dry in the house. I know I didn't have a dry eye. And then let's look here in front of me, these 2 great Americans here, and it's just a great day for Paulding County. I just want to thank you and Shannon and John for all y'all's hard work in that, because it was very, very special. And they didn't want you to do anything for them. They were surprise spring chickens, and very humbling, very, very humbling. Okay, Blake, yeah, okay.
The only update I've got on the EA today is we are going to be adding a little bit of work to the EA. I think probably everybody knows that the northern long-eared bat and the Indiana bat, maybe a couple of other bats, were named to the endangered species list recently by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So since that change has taken place since we started the EA and since we wrote the contract on the EA, that work has got to be added in. So we do have to study the bat for the airport projects, and we'll go back and study the bat even for the terminal apron expansion, which was previously cleared. We'll need to do the bat study on it as well. So I want to make sure everybody was aware of that we'll be coming back at some point in time with work and a change order to the grant to add in the bat. Of course, obviously the state and the FAA and everybody's aware of that. So I just want to make sure all you guys are on board with that. So any questions on
And
that?
that same delay affects the fire station and the 911 center, everything's scheduled to be constructed.
It affects everything, and of course, it also affects every project in Paulding County that has either state or federal funding in it. So this is not just an airport issue. This is an issue for any project the county's got, whether it's the reservoir, Highway 92, or any other project in the county. So, still moving.
Well, you know, Blake, I think you need to touch on what he just said, the fire department, how we almost needed it Saturday out there at the airport. We had a plane that had a fire emergency and landed at our airport belly up. And it scared me to death that at one time we could have had an airport and already built, that thing could have caught fire because he slid in there on the gas tanks. And he probably had 100 gallons of gas on board, which would have been impossible to put it out without them being right there. So anyway, we do need that fire department out there. We need it in the worst way. We don't operate airplanes out of that place. Before we get going any farther, I want to honor Representative Mr. Michael. Would you please stand up, Mr. Michael? Thank you for your service. Appreciate you, buddy. Cornell come in. Thank you so much, Mr. Cornell. And Tony Crow, yeah, there you are, Tony. You sit behind the blonde there, good to see you. Anyway, thank y'all for coming. All righty, Blake, you gotta explain this fuel flowage for us.
Yeah, we've got an agenda item here to approve a refund of the fuel flowage fee for the air show. I'm going to regurgitate what you guys already know, but I think it's just helpful in making sure that everybody understands. In 2012 and in 2013, the air show was ran up underneath the airport authority. So the airport authority was responsible financially for the air show. So everything that we did with the air show ultimately was paid for either through the airport authority, through the revenues in the air show, or whatnot. So when we did the air show in 2012 and 2013, we didn't address fuel flowage because we didn't need to, because the funds were coming back to us and we were responsible for it, so it didn't make any difference. This year is different, however, as all of you are aware. The air show this year was ran by a separate entity that's not financially or in any other way attached to the airport authority. So I'm bringing this agenda item to you to consider. The fuel flowage at the air show comes in one of two ways. One is it's purchased by the air show as part of the contract with the performers. So when the performers sign up with you to come performing your show, one of their requirements is that you provide them with fuel. So the air show itself has to pay for the fuel for those performers. The only performers that pay for their own fuel are the military. The military does pay for their own fuel. However, when the military comes, you have the costs of supporting them. You got to give them rental cars, you got to have hotel rooms, you got to feed them, you got to do all the other things, give them all the other support that they need. So even though they do pay for their fuel, there's a substantial cost with bringing those folks to the air show. So I bring this agenda item to you because I think in a goodwill gesture from the airport authority to the air show, I don't really think it's a good idea for us to make a profit off of fuel that the air show had to purchase as part of their contracts with the performers. So that's kind of like getting a black eye on top of a black eye when they're already having to pay for it to provide it to the performers, and then they're having to pay the fuel flowage. And without the air show, this fuel wouldn't have been brought in, it wouldn't have been sold, so there would have been no fuel flowage there to begin with. So I think it's appropriate that we refund the fuel flowage just on that portion of fuel that was sold, for air show purposes during the air show. Obviously, any other fuel that's sold any other time outside the air show, we're not waiving fuel flowage fees on that. But specifically for the air show, I think it's something that we ought to consider.
How much is it in dollars?
I don't have the exact dollar amount because I have not yet gotten all of the fuel tickets from the air show, so I don't have the exact dollar amount. I'm going to say it's probably $2,500 to $3,000 ballpark guesstimate.
How much a gallon would that be, right?
It's 16 cents a gallon is what our fuel flowage is. Yeah. So once we have those final numbers in, then we'll know what it is. But I'm not going to be off by very much. That's a pretty close guess, I believe.
Okay, well, I need a motion then. If anybody want to debate it or talk about it, I'm good with it.
Would it hurt to wait till next month when we have the final numbers so they'll know exactly what it is?
I don't know that it would hurt other than they're paying bills and they're expected to get their bills paid. So it would be helpful to them if we could go ahead and do it. Yeah, I think you know, as I said, this is not fuel that we would have sold if it weren't for the air show. No one would have been coming in and buying that gas. So it's a unique situation, and I know obviously the air show would appreciate the gesture.
Well, I think it's only right for the airport authority to support this air show any way we can. If it's the way we can do it, I think it's okay, you know, because it does make the airport look good, bring a lot of people down to it, so.
What about the fuel farm? Let's go back to where we originally put the fuel farm in. Now, do we own the fuel farm? The FBO leases that from us and gives us a fuel fluid fee, or exactly how does that work out?
This body does not own the fuel farm. The fuel farm is owned by the Industrial Building Authority. The Industrial Building Authority built the fuel farm. They leased that to the FBO. The FBO pays a monthly rental to the Industrial Building Authority for the fuel farm.
Okay. Does CBAC any subsidies on it?
No one gets any subsidies. They pay the rent to the IBA, and then the fuel flowage, which is the 16 cents per gallon that's pumped out of the fuel farm, comes to the airport authority. So the airport authorities, you know, our revenue is generated through the fuel sales, and the Industrial Building Authority, obviously, because they built it, they received the revenues from the rent.
I think this is based on the fact that we already, basically, we don't want to make money off them just, you know, generating fuel for the air show. So to me, it seems like the right thing to do. So I make the motion that we just go ahead and refund the fuel flow for the air show.
Second.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So be it. That's a kind gesture too, Blake. Thank you for that. We do need to support that air show. Okay. It's been brought up that one of our authority members, if they want to move the airport meetings back to the airport, which I am so on to that. I want to do it so bad I can taste it. But at the present time, with all the kinds of things that's happened to me personally in my life, and some of the other guys up here has happened to them in their life, I think it behooves us to stay here until we're all comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with it, and because I do bring my wife up here with me to support this thing, and you know, we just, not that we're saying we, you know, that anything could go wrong. We just expect, you know, that some of the things that's happened to me personally in my life because of sitting on this airport authority, which has been going on for the last 2 years. And Ellis, you're the one that brought it up, so why don't you tell us why you would like to move it back up there?
Well, I think it gives us, that's the only time some of us have a chance to go out to the airport. It gives us a better perspective of what's going on out there if we have the meetings at the airport. And I just enjoyed having them out there, but after talking to some of the members, I understand the potential issue with it, with the risk of the security and all.
Well, I have a question. Do we have any portable scanners?
Anybody else want to weigh on that? Okay, I need a motion to keep it here for, I guess indefinitely.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, now we're going to hear the proposed amendment to the IGA with the county from Todd Cornell. And Mr. Pony, if you don't mind, come up here in front of everybody and just, if you keep it as brief as you can, we'd sure appreciate it. And then we're going to have a few questions for you afterwards, so stay up here after you get through with it, if you don't mind.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I know y'all probably received this already. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Sir? You received this, John?
That's the one that was dated 4/28. Or is this another one?
Just wasn't sure.
Colored one back there, I can see it.
I'd heard a couple comments that you had actually not received it, but I know that after our meeting, after we approved it, I know it was brought to council, so that should have been your all's delivery. Couple things that I've got, and I'll let you ask questions. In our commissioners meeting on March 24th, I made the comment that I personally felt like that we should rescind the intergovernmental agreement. Some people may disagree with me, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree, okay? I actually think there's several different ways that we could do that. But what I did say is I said, you know what, I'm going to look at this and see what we can do to meet somewhere halfway in the middle, is what I felt like. And I said I would probably be bringing something back to the commission, and I did on April 14th. Now, that was a Tuesday. On that night, Monday night before that, I sent out that to the commissioners, and a couple of them said that they got a short notice about receiving that. However, that was just for discussion purposes, is all that was for. It was so that we could discuss it up there in an open meeting and talk about what I was presenting, so that we could look at it and vote on it 2 weeks later, which we did, and that was April 28th. We voted on it. So what my point was, I was hoping that you guys would be able to take a look at it in April a little bit, however you needed to look at it, and then that you would have a chance to look at it today. Basically, there's several things that it does. Rather than setting a payment amount, it shifts the power back to the county to determine how much tax revenue should be transferred to the airport with a public vote in a commissioners meeting about transferring funds, whether that be through a budget process or whether that be through a meeting every 6 months, which is what the intergovernmental agreement, the amendment says. It limits the amount to any payment to historic cost of the airport department, with the ability to lower that amount to the airport as the airport develops its own revenue sources, which is what you guys want to do. You want to develop the airport and be able to take that on to the next level. And so as you do that and bring in money, it's kind of the same thing what you guys are talking about in this payment plan that we have as we lower it through the years. But it would put the control back on us to be able to let you know what we could do with the taxpayer money. It's to clarify the power conveyed by the IGA from the county to the Paulding County Airport Authority to operate the airport for general aviation only. Now, some of y'all are going to disagree with me on that. However, that's been my stance from day one, and so that's what we put in the intergovernmental agreement. This was passed on April 28th on the 3-2 vote. So I've had a couple conversations with a couple of y'all concerning that, hey, it takes away the commercial aspect, and some folks have said, hey, you know, we've got a contract with Propeller, but we don't, as a Board of Commissioners, we do not have a contract with Propeller. So I'm going back to what the airport was originally designed to do, which was general aviation. General aviation. It eliminates the rent cost imposed on the county for any law enforcement housed at the airport. Makes this consistent with the Fire Protection Services arrangement. Would also view staff cost as an in-kind payment to the Paulding County Airport Authority that should be considered by the county when determining the amount of general fund transferred to the Paulding County Airport Authority. In other words, it's kind of like the air show. You guys needed some support out there. We gave you guys some support, but that's something that we need to look at as we're looking at money being brought to the airport. There's also support in other ways, such as our employees and different things like that.
You didn't give the airport authority any support for the air show because it was not ours.
I understand.
Okay, because you had just said that you guys gave us support,
Well,
but it wasn't the
y'all
airport
support the
authority.
air show, and y'all supported doing the air show, and then we supported the air show on our side.
I thought we just took a vote to let them have the air show out there, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, it maintains the county as a sponsor for the purposes of FAA grant money and the county agrees to consult with the Paulding County Airport Authority prior to applying for grants. The current language positions the county as a rubber stamp on whatever the Paulding County Airport Authority wants. Of course, it strikes paragraph G that obligates the county to provide whatever fire and police services are required in conjunction with the Part 139 certificate. Then it places a restriction on the land transferred by the county to the Paulding County Airport Authority, requiring the approval of both the county and the city of Atlanta for any development of the land for aviation purposes. We're talking about the 163 acres. That's basically the gist of it. Basically what we've got is you guys, I've got my notes here. What we're looking at is this. We've got, I feel like y'all have 4 options today that you can do. One is you can amend it and send it back to the commissioners and change some things for us to discuss and see what we can do to come up with an agreement between us. 2, you can vote not to accept the amendment and send it back over to us. You could pass it as it's presented to you, and you could take no action. So those are the 4 choices you got. But this is what I want to tell you, is I think this is where the discussion should be, is right here in the public view on the Paulding County Airport Authority, Paulding County Commissioners, and I think that's where it should be. What I find interesting is we've had more discussion about the airport since the announcement of what you guys did than was ever done before the announcement. And I think that's where it should be. It should be here, and it should be at the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners is elected by the people. We're all elected for a 4-year term to serve the people. That's the citizens can come to us and discuss it with us in an open meeting, and that's what it should be about. So I'm looking to see what we can do to work together. If this isn't good, what can we do? What do y'all want to come back with us with to see what we can do to kind of work together? Some people may say it was one-sided, what I'm offering today.
Well, Mr. Pownell, are you done? Are you finished?
Yeah.
Well, to start with, we're all volunteers here. We're not elected. We come up here.
No, we're not. Some of us
Well,
are
some
required by
of us.
statute to
But
do it.
anyway, but I'm not. And it's charity work the way I look at it, what we're trying to do here. Since we started this airport, and it's been a slippery slope from the get-go. And for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been persecuted 9 ways to Sunday because, A, we couldn't get corporate in here. We had corporate coming, and they fought us out on corporate because they didn't want jets, any kind of jet, corporate jet coming in here. And then, so we decided, well, corporate, and plus the economy was going down, it was going bad, and everything was going wrong for the airport. So I changed my mind from corporate to commercial to keep this thing going financially, make it viable for the citizens of this county and prosperous, to create jobs. But my only question is to you is, here, you say you support the airport. Tell me how you support it and what your plans are down the road to keep it viable and to keep it prosperous for this county, because I ain't heard anything come out of you except shut us down and handcuff us in every way you can. So just tell me, what is your plans to grow this airport and make it prosperous for this county? Because we're all open up here. We've explored. I tried to get a corporate company to come in here for our air show, way out China on the West Coast. And you know what they told me? We know about what's going on at your airport. You got a fight going on up there. We're not going to touch it. It took them 2 weeks to go before the board of their board to get it approved to bring 1 airplane for a static display. And by the way, they sold 10 aircraft at our air show because of that. So that's what we're up against. We cannot create jobs. We're like this because aviation community is a small, tight community.
Right.
When you start approaching, they know about what's going on here, and they do not want to come into here. So we cannot create jobs. We can't make it prosperous. So you tell me what your plans are. I'd like to know.
Well, let me. You bring up a couple of good points, Calvin, but this is the fact. because of what was done and the way it was done, this is why we're where we're at today. That's the bottom. Just hear me out for a second, because I heard you out, and that's what this is for. Okay, this is nothing personal with Calvin Thompson. But the bottom line is, the citizens of this county were promised no commercial airlines. That's what they were promised when the airport was built. I understand when people look at us today to think, why would I want to go out there and get in that mess? But you know what? The citizens didn't create that mess, okay? And I don't mean to throw it at you hard.
Well, explain the mess. I mean, I want to know the mess. Tell me, because nobody will come in here because the
Calvin,
fight is going on? Explain that.
I understand, because we do. You know, we do have to see what we can do to heal things up and get headed in the right direction. But the bottom line is this: I've stood on the same ground that I stood on from day one with this issue, and that is, we were promised no commercial in the way it was done. And that's where I stand. And I don't think we're ever going to get through the healing process until we deal with that. Okay? You talk about what's my plans. I don't know a whole lot about general aviation or commercial airport. I just know there was a promise made and a commitment made that we would not bring in commercial airlines. And the citizens have overwhelmingly spoke about that. Maybe we need to look at going a different direction. I find it interesting that in 2012, we went out to the airport, 2013, the summer of 2013. We went out to the airport to have a meeting. You guys had a meeting somewhere else in June or July that year. And we went out and had a meeting there, and I think it was July.
All that's public record. That's already out there.
No, what I mean, it's
State
not
your
about.
point. I want to know your dreams for
Calvin,
this airport.
y'all invited me here. Allow me to speak.
We already know all that.
Okay?
It's out there.
When I went out to the airport, the grass was this tall. The flag looked like it'd gone through 3 wars. Boyd, I know, was upset about that. The chairman was upset about it. We had several people upset about it. Were we focused on doing what we need to do? I don't know. I'm not pointing the finger to any one person. But just because you're not successful at doing what you wanted to do as general aviation doesn't mean that we can break the commitment and promises made to the people to change it to commercial. That's not the way to do it.
Todd, there are plenty of people that want commercialization of this airport. There is a lot of citizens that I talk to in this county and in this region are excited about having an airline that would come in. So we talk about, there are 2 sides to it. So not every citizen, as you continue to say, the overwhelming citizens, there are an overwhelming part of this county and in this region that wants commercialization.
Okay.
I have
I
a
can tell
question
you-
on the airport, on the IGA. I think we've gotten off on
Okay.
opinions now. On page 5, under section, I don't know why it goes from GH and it goes to A, but section 2 there, where it gives the city of Atlanta basically a veto of anything that happens on an airport located in this county. I don't understand the reason for that. They have owned acreage here since 1971 in different locations for the purpose of a second airport. And why, if the purpose is to allow local decisions to be made at the local level, why would you allow the city of Atlanta a veto authority over anything that occurs?
That's concerning basically the 163 acres. Is what that's concerning. We can argue that all day long, but there was all kind of things done with that 163 acres through the time that states what the intent purposes was, and one of it was for that not to be used as a major airport. And that 163 acres, have y'all transferred that? Has the county transferred that to you yet? It's in the intergovernmental agreement. Tom? Is that right, Lon? That's what that's about, Mr. Austin, is that 163 acres.
Yeah.
And if you look back at the research on that, you'll see that we made a commitment to the city of Atlanta.
I also understand that the city of Atlanta has a vested interest in their partners in that land on the property they own that have a huge financial windfall coming on a 40-year horizon after they have failed to do anything with the property they own. I just don't like the fact they are giving a veto on the property they sold and that they are,
Then come back with an amendment to change what you would like to do, and let's take a look at it.
And also, my other question, I guess, would be answered by Tom on the obligation to respond. We've gotten to May the, what are we, May 20th today?
Tomorrow.
And the
Tomorrow.
obligation to respond is tomorrow at 5 o'clock. When all of this was delayed for some period of time, and this question will be directed to you, what does that?
It's really, it's an amendment that we're offering. I'll answer it, Tom, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's an amendment that we're offering. Y'all don't have to. We're just asking for a response instead of ignoring us. But the bottom line is, that's why I brought it up when I brought it up on April 14th, so y'all would have 2 meetings to kind of talk about it, not just today. So.
And I would take the position, it's an amendment, it's a proposed amendment, which is basically an offer to you.
It's
And
an
the
offer.
offer expires, it has an expiration date, so if it's not accepted, then it would expire by its
We
term.
just
So
didn't
then
want
it
to
would
leave
go
it out
to the
there.
fourth option, which would be no action
Right,
taken.
which doesn't
Right.
mean that the authority, that the Board of Commissioners couldn't renew it. I mean, they could revitalize it if they chose to, but as I read it.
We just didn't want it sitting out there and people say, well, the airport authority hadn't done anything, y'all hadn't, you know, that's all it was. It's not, we can't hold your feet to the fire on that, we're just asking.
Okay, I have a question, and it's to you, and it's to Tom. On page 3, B, under 4, the authority, please excuse me because my contacts aren't focused right now. The authority agrees to provide airport service for general aviation purposes only to the county and to the citizens of the county through the operation of the airport. By virtue of the authority providing this service, the county will eliminate the staffing of its own airport department. I guess I have a couple questions there. The county doesn't have the contract with Propeller. The authority has that contract. So,
Tell me
if
again, I'm gonna
it's
interrupt.
that
Which one?
number B,
Page,
page 3, number B, where for general aviation purposes only. The county, if we accept this, the county doesn't have the contract with Propeller, the authority does. So if Propeller turns around and sues the authority, is the county gonna pick up all the tabs for it? That's one question. And the other question would be, somebody clarify the statement, county will eliminate the staffing of its own airport department. I want that statement cleared up.
You want to answer anything?
Well, I don't know that I think there's really more directed at you, but I'll attempt to. The airport department, I think the county has already eliminated
Right.
its airport
That was
department.
the original IGA, yes.
That was part of the original IGA.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Right, the change was in red, so it's part of the original, that that's what was agreed upon, that would happen if y'all did the original.
It sounded like the other question was, if some other entity were to sue the airport authority, would the county basically indemnify the airport authority for?
Y'all, I'm on the Board of Commissioners, y'all are on the Fulton County Airport Authority, that's a decision that you guys have to make.
Well, not if we're giving it back to the county.
Well, you're not really giving it back to the county.
Well, I think she's asking is if they were to adopt this agreement as written and it invited a suit from a third party against the airport authority, would the county be willing to indemnify the airport authority in that lawsuit?
Number one, I wouldn't discuss that in an open meeting. Number two, I'm only one of 5.
Well, you have it in here.
Okay?
So if
No, I don't have it. This is an offer to you. You guys have to make a decision whether you want to accept it or reject it or don't do anything or amend it. you can amend the offer. It's like any other thing. We have a contract, but I'd like to amend it. But that's the decision you have. The Board of Commissioners doesn't have a contract with Propeller.
No, the authority does.
Exactly, so that's why that's a decision for you guys.
Well, I think the Board of Commissioners made a promise to stand behind this, and now you want to change the mind of them, so.
All contracts in life are open for amendments, okay? I'm offering an amendment. Y'all can accept it, reject it, turn it down, change it, whatever that you want to do. I personally, I think originally it was designed for two reasons. One, it was to take the power away from the new commissioners coming in. I think that was one of them. Another one, it protects Blake's job. He doesn't work for the county. So what we're doing is, hey, we still want the airport authority to run this and do this, but we just want some changes made. And it's Calvin, it's an offer, but this is where it's supposed to be done.
I agree with that 100%. But you know, it's just very frustrating to sit up here and hammer to try to grow this airport to where we are. And the aviation community is bad. 2016 of this year, next coming year, there's not even going to be an aircraft salesman. Everything's going to come out of corporate. The sales are so bad. So you just pick up the phone, they'll bring you an airplane out, and because they can't afford salesmen anymore. So you know, the whole industry is upside down in a ditch because of the economy, fuel, and all the other kinds of things going on. So that's the reason I asked you tell us some ideas that you've got to grow this airport. We'd love to jump on it. And because we're an open mind up here, we've explored, in Blake, we've gone all over the place trying to get people in here, and all the airports already work hard to grow this airport. And I'm just bewildered, you know, that now that we've got an agreement, we can run it like a business instead of a bunch of bureaucrats. And that's what my goal, you know.
Well, and I understand your frustrations. But this is I think y'all should run it. But the same people that are running today, not the same, I don't mean everybody's the same, there's some new folks here, are the same ones that have been running it for general aviation and haven't been successful with it. And I think we need to try to, and it's not pointing the finger at anybody. I know the economy changes. I'm in the real estate business, trust me. I know, Calvin, you and I talked about it. It's been tough. We still made a commitment to the people. One of the things I learned a few weeks ago in class at ACCG was 10 factors to consider before entering into an IGA. And I understand that we're already in an IGA, and I'd like to amend it. What does your government hope to gain? Is the intergovernmental cooperation necessary, or can your government achieve the desired result on your own? Is the benefit of the intergovernmental cooperation the same for all participating entities, or is it skewed in a manner that some benefit more than others? Can the agreement be amended? Is there a loss of control, and if so, to what extent is the local control lost? What are your government's financial obligations and legal liabilities? How long is your government committed? What is the procedure for withdrawal? What are the foreseeable problems? What is the dispute resolution process? And my point is this. You guys did an intergovernmental agreement. That intergovernmental agreement originally passed on a 3-2 vote. This amendment that I brought to you passed on a 3-2 vote. But the bottom line is, as Board of Commissioners, we haven't done our due diligence back then either to do what we need to do that's right for the citizens and right for the county, right for the taxpayers. And I think there's somewhere that we can meet in the middle to see what we can do. We're not going to agree on the commercialization of the airport. we're just not gonna agree on. I will say this, if we had had these conversations at the beginning, if we'd had these type of conversations from day one, we may have disagreed. If y'all had done some of the things you've been trying to do the last 6 months, no telling where we would be today, but we wouldn't be talking about these same issues because it would have all been out in that public eye to begin with. It would have been a different story, I believe. Would we still have people that didn't agree with commercial? Yeah, but it wouldn't have been done the way it was done. We would have been doing things different today if we'd have done it right from the beginning. So,
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Torres, but just let me remind you of this real quick. This is a $50 million gift from the FAA. These taxpayers here didn't pay that unless they own an airplane. That came out of the FAA money. So what are we invested to do with a $50 million investment? That's all I want you. You come up with some ideas for us, please come back to us and tell us the way we can motivate through this. But we've got a young man wanting to invest in this county big. It reminds me a lot of myself when I was young, that he's a go-getter, and I love him for it. For him to hang in here with us is beyond my wildest dreams, but the fact of it is, he's still here with us. He's paid his bills, and he's supporting us, and, so, yeah, I'm like that. I hear a motion.
I've got a couple questions.
I have a motion.
I don't mean to delay this, Mr. Commissioner. Obviously I'm new here to the board, and I'm learning a lot, and it's a lot to learn, a lot of stuff that's going on here. I didn't really know what I was getting into when I accepted the position. Although I'm a citizen, of this county, and I have a business here, I'm a small business guy. You made a couple comments that resonate with me, and one of them talked about doing the right thing for the taxpayers. As a taxpayer and as a former federal government employee, I can't stand waste. Can't stand it. I worked for the Department of Justice for a handful of years and saw an incredible amount of waste just there. And it rubs me the wrong way. And I sense that most people here in this room can't stand government waste. And one of the things I see as government waste is just what Calvin said, $55 million on a beautiful airport. And if we're not to use this airport, it never should have been built. Never should have been built. And so and I'd rather it not have been built if we weren't going to use it for its proper and use it for the best of its, I guess, capacity. So my question to you, if we're here, we're supposed to be independent. And my understanding is that most boards, airport authorities in the state are independent for certain reasons, sort of like our balance of powers as we have in the Senate, the Congress, that kind of stuff. And it's supposed to not, we're supposed to act somewhat independently of the local political whims. And I think that's a good thing. That's in our, it's embedded in our system of government. And here we have people that are appointed. I mean, your board has the authority to have a seat here. Each mayor, they're elected. So there's a lot of things that tie us to the community. I'm a citizen, so I'm clearly tied to the community. So what I want to hear from you, and I know this is getting long-winded, but what is the main objection that your constituents have for this airport being commercialized? And here's where I'm going with it. I think right now, legally, the airport authority, we could sign a contract with FedEx or UPS, right? And they could land their planes there. I'm asking you that. Is that possible? Yeah. So, and I'm assuming your answer might be noise and congestion, that kind of stuff, whatever. And if the airport has the ability to land whatever private jet it can land, sign a contract with FedEx, UPS, whatever, that's going to be noise right there. So if your main argument or your constituents' main argument is noise, then how do we then protect those interests if we pursue other means that are going to bring as much noise or congestion to the area? How do you balance those?
Well, number one, you got some good questions, but number one, the voters turned down the airport twice, but the airport was built. Okay, the airport was on the ballot and it was turned down twice. We can argue about how it was turned down, but it was turned down twice. It was built, but it was built. When it was built with the promises of being general aviation. Okay, period, cut and dry. Hey, we're going to build this. We're getting the money from the FAA. We're doing this.
Does general aviation, in your mind, include these large
There's
carriers
been-
that, like FedEx, UPS, DHL, this kind of?
There's been all kind of discussions that Blake and Calvin and different ones have talked about bringing in different people. And that comment's been made from several commissioners in this room, hey, you can do that without the 139. Whatever you can do without the 139. The 139 and bringing in commercial, we don't know where that would stop. It would be endless. And they started off saying it's going to be a couple flights a week, and then, you know, I talked to Mr. Smith, and that was not what he told me. And so as things progressed, you know, it was going to be this great thing. We're going to do so many flights a day, and now we're back down to it's only going to be a couple flights a week. Well, it's not going to be successful at that anyway. Their number one complaint is they were promised no commercial.
Would you be opposed to UPS, FedEx, or DHL landing there, building a facility there?
If it's something that we can do with what we've got now that doesn't have to have the 139, then I'm not opposed to that.
Okay, so
If that's what has to happen.
if you're not opposed to that, I believe your constituents would still be against that because of noise and aircraft landing.
There's going to be people against that.
How would you handle that?
The airport though is right now is built for general aviation, and that's what it's built for. So whatever you can do without changing that, Blake and I've talked about it before. Calvin's mentioned companies coming in here and different things. And in fact, one of the things he said in the paper was parking a $5 million plane. But we can do that now if we had that here. Is that right? And so,
Well, they fought us on jets too, private corporate jet. That's a $5 million jet. I mean, we had a company was gonna come in here and start a charter service out of here, and they had 88 people come up here today to fight us over that. So, they've been fighting us.
was this recently?
No, this
Okay.
went right after we opened the airport,
Okay.
2006. But
Mr. Fowler, how do you differentiate between the two? If DHL can land a 737 full of cargo here,
Well,
Built facility.
I don't know that that's the case. If that's what Blake says,
I'm
we'd
assuming
have
it
to,
is. I don't
we'd have
believe
to
it
find
was.
out. Blake would let us know.
but if that was the case, hypothetically, how would you handle it with your constituents? I don't personally see a difference. Both are big, both might be noisy. How do you allow one without allowing the other, and how do you handle that with your constituents?
The
If you're
biggest.
for one and not for the other.
Well, I'm for what we can do with general aviation, and I don't know what all that is that we can do with general aviation. Okay? I don't know what that is. You probably know.
you don't have to have a 139 to do that. I mean, it's commercial, you know,
Okay.
so.
So if it takes commercial, then if it takes the 139 to do that, then I'm against that, because we were promised no commercial. That's the bottom line of the system.
I thought the 139 certification was so that we could land planes up like an MD-80 up to a 757. And that we needed that certification in order to get some of these businesses for them to land their jets. Now, it's my understanding, and what I've learned about all this over the last 3.5 years, a larger jet is actually, doesn't have as much noise as a smaller corporate jet. Is that right?
Let me address both the things there. In terms of the 139, the 139 only deals with passengers. If it doesn't have paying passengers on board, then it can land there.
Okay.
I
Thank you.
potentially have a 727 coming in next month just to stop in and get people clean. So we can have a large jet land at our airport as long as it doesn't have commercial passengers on it. And as far as, you know, the DHLs and FedExes of the world, yeah, none of that relates to 139 at all. 139 relates to passenger service.
So Blake, as far as you're concerned, we could sign a contract with DHL right now, they could land aircraft.
Sure.
Okay, so if that's the case, I'm trying to understand the difference that you would have between an airline landing there with a 737 and a DHL landing 737. How they're both are going to be some level of noise, or both are going to be irritable to your constituents. How do you tell your constituents that this is okay, this is not, especially when DHL might be landing at 2 in the morning?
Well, for one thing, I don't necessarily tell my constituents. They have shared with me what they want. They have shared with me that they don't want commercial. I stand on the ground that commercial was promised that it wouldn't come here. period, cut and dry.
Would they be opposed, would your positions be opposed to a contract with DHL or
That
UPS?
would be something y'all would have to present to the citizens.
I'm asking what you think. Do you think they would be?
I don't know, that would be something that you would have to present, and if you did it in a meeting like this and it was brought out front, I think that's what you would have to do to get that feedback from them.
I'm looking at,
Time,
no, I'm looking at the Part 139.
it's
and it says-
121, it's
Well,
121.
our application is for a 139, and it says, airport serving scheduled air carrier operations in aircraft designed for more than 9 passenger seats but less than 31 passenger seats.
Can you explain 121 to him real quick?
We don't have a 121 application.
I know it, but that's what it'd be operating on, is what his question is,
Well,
121.
there's a confusion here, and I'll try to shed a little light on it.
That's not all.
And Boyd, I will try to, we have to get down in, and we're getting a little off track here, but you have to dig into the board to understand what a 139 app is for, creates passenger, the ability to take a 121 carrier. That's where the education is. We need to spend some time offline with that. That's getting way down in the weeds over the semantics of the federal.
Some
aviation
people have actually
regulations,
pulled
but-
that up on the
What I
139
would-
and said it takes passengers from here
Yeah,
to here,
that's,
but it
again,
actually
that's
has
a,
other things.
that's an
tied to it.
education and
Well,
training
that's
issue, and
definitely-
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we spend some time offline, because there is an enormous amount of education, there's some background and some data on
Great.
what general aviation is. Mr. Powell, you just said that you don't know what general aviation really is, and I think maybe we can help provide that to you. But that needs to be done offline. There's just no time here to get into that amount of education that's required. So I don't believe that there's any way that we can accept this product today. But I would be willing to provide some background data on what exactly general aviation is and what type of aircraft you would be talking about if you just want to talk about general aviation and what the differences are and some comparisons for commercial aviation. I'd be happy to provide that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cornell, appreciate you so much. And I'll apologize one more time about changing my mind from corporate to commercial.
That's okay.
And I hope y'all honestly know that's my heart, and that's from God, because that's what it's about, you know, forgiveness and moving on. Okay, you know, I want to make a motion?
Yeah, I do. I move not to accept the proposed intergovernmental amendment as proposed by Commissioner Pownell.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, while we're on closed session.
Yes.
Yeah, need a-
Opposition or abstention.
Yeah, does anybody want to?
Anybody opposed?
Okay, I need a motion. Before you make a motion to go into closed session, though, you lined about some charts and some facility directions for the state of Georgia. Me, y'all welcome to them up here to come get them. Very helpful in, you know, looking at all airports in Palmer County and across the state of Georgia. So they're here for you to take them, just come get them. I'll give you a motion for closed session.
I'll
Make
make
a
a
motion to enter executive session to discuss potential and pending litigation.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. I can leave it in case. Well, I don't have to use one of these.
You bet. There's a chart underneath there. Yeah, need a motion to go back into regular session.
I make a motion to go back in regular session and report that no business was taken in executive session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. Okay, get my glasses on here. Marina Henning.
Do you want to wait for Blake?
Martina.
Oh, Blake,
I
is Blake
said
coming back?
Place on it.
Yeah,
That was for Blake?
Okay. While he's waiting on him, now let's wait till it's 5 minutes and you let Tom know when you're gonna get started. But,
We've done this already.
okay, you've done that before, okay. I just want to refresh your memory.
There's some people who are here that have not done it before.
Oh,
So
really?
it's good.
Okay.
Calvin, maybe you can explain the procedure since one of the speakers hasn't.
Oh, and Ms. Spearman's the next speaker.
Well, what it is we'll give you 5 minutes to talk. You look at Tom and start him. You say, well, I'm ready to go, and he'll start the clock on you. And he'll give you like a little 1 minute, about 1 minute. You know, he'll just give you a little warning there, the time is going here, so you can get finished up.
You're holding up progress.
Okay, Tina, come on. You want to introduce yourself first?
Sure, my name's Martina Hevian.
Thank you.
Y'all have to bear with me, I keep feeling like I have to sneeze, so I'm trying to not sneeze during my speech. Okay, good. Okay, hello, I'm here to talk about the IGA and the proposed amendment. It's been about a year since I addressed the airport authority, and I hope you all take into consideration what I have to say and hopefully keep an open dialogue with the Board of Commissioners. I've been collecting a list of quotes from people about the airport, commercial services if necessary, promises regarding general aviation and transparency, campaign promises, but I only have 5 minutes, so here's one quote from Brett Smith of Keller on strategy. It's really about ready, aim, and fire. It's not about fire, aim, and ready. But has it really been that way? It's been almost 3 years since the commercialization contract. And I mean, it's a controversial, secretive contract, a press release 1 year later, and then a desperate media attempt to persuade people a year and a half after that. I think a closer analogy on what the strategy has been might be, hey, we don't have any ammo, but let's lob this 139 grenade out of our foxhole and see what happens. And what has that done to the county? Now, last October, I had a meeting with Mr. Swafford, and we had a good discussion, and I think what we talked about is pretty relevant here. According to Mr. Swafford, we have no financial liability to the FAA if we keep the airport general aviation. Regardless of performance, we can do good, we can do poorly. We have no problem. And his budget can cover that. But what happens if we get the 139 and it fails? The airport authority doesn't have enough money to maintain an empty terminal. Propeller, as a private company, can declare bankruptcy, as any company would. It can easily cost the taxpayers $1 million a year to maintain an empty terminal. Mr. Swafford stated that he believed the authority could cover the cost with the current established budget, which to my knowledge is the $3 million allowance from the BOC over 10 years. And he's told me anything we need to operate the airport above and beyond that budget, we have to generate through our revenues. Now, based on the numbers I've seen, the airport revenues are not sufficient for commercial maintenance. That's not even factored in possible expenses like being sued by the city of Atlanta. The airport authority's legal spending is already in question, as Mr. Swafford has stated that he has used funds which are supposed to be in the bond escrow account to pay for the airport authority's legal expenses, and it's questionable. Now, according to the documents I've seen, Allegiant is willing to, quote, give it a try for 6 months or so. And they could leave within 90 to 120 days if they're not successful, leaving us with an empty terminal. In the $28,000 aviation forecast that y'all purchased last year, it's a possibility. It's a very high possibility without revenue guarantees. And as far as I understand it, Mr. Swafford, there are no revenue guarantees?
There are no revenue guarantees. That would be a huge liability.
It would be. Okay, so then I asked what happened in the event the airport authority can't pay its bills after a commercial failure. And Mr. Swafford said, then the guys who are elected need to replace the airport authority. Well, it doesn't really have to come to that if you consider the amendment and work with the Board of Commissioners. This is where we avoid financial disaster by approaching things in a different manner. This is where you all get your chance to reevaluate some of the decisions that have been made. Now, I asked Mr. Swafford, what kind of representation is there on the airport authority for the taxpayers? Mr. Swafford's reply was, the representation is made through appointment, which are made by the Board of Commissioners. The majority of the airport authority, 5 members, is appointed by the Board of Commissioners. Well, shouldn't there be at least 5 votes here to represent the taxpayers to openly discuss this amendment, suggest changes, work with the BOC on reaching an agreement to satisfy both the BOC and the airport authority? At least 4 should be speaking with the commissioners, 3 are elected, should be listening to your constituents, And as I said to Chairman Austin, his feet are in the Board of Commissioners, but his head and his heart are not. Once that 139 pin is pulled, you can't guarantee what's going to happen to us. Are you really ready to lob the 139 grenade? I have one more quote for you by Brad Smith from Propeller. We are working for you, full stop. This is not about our agenda. It's not about our vision. It's about a joint vision. It has to work for both parties. It has to be in line with the growth of what the county wants and where it's going to go. Stop. Can I get 10 seconds?
10 seconds.
Okay. I think that's a pretty clear statement that it would remain in Propeller's and the Airport Authority's best interest to work with the community and county government as Brett Smith promised. This amendment reaches out a hand to all of you, and I hope you'll take it.
Right. Okay, Sue? Step up there and introduce yourself, Ms. Wood. I know everybody knows you, but let's do it again.
I'm Sue Wilkins. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'd like to follow up on the status of the $3.6 million bond escrow balance of $97,000 that Silver Comet Terminal Partners did not pay as of the February 18, 2015 meeting. Has Silver Comet paid the money into a segregated security account yet, like the contract stipulates? I'll assume your silence means no. Mr. Swafford, you made it more than clear at the February Airport Authority meeting that you did not consult with the board members regarding your decision to allow Silver Comet to breach the bond agreement that they entered into with this authority, a contract that Mr. Thompson signed. At that meeting, you told the board if they wanted to discuss the $97,000 escrow, a correspondence could be sent to Silver Comet. Since the February meeting, it has never been publicly discussed and appears to have become a non-issue. The contractual obligation of Silver Comet was put in place to protect the county taxpayers since you used us as collateral. But clearly, this obligation means nothing to you, the board, or Silver Comet since it's been abandoned without even a discussion or vote. Mr. Swafford, it was very considerate of you to take care of Brett Smith by not, as you put it, pushing the issue to enforce the contract with Silver Comet because they paid for some of the authority's legal fees. But quite frankly, one issue has nothing to do with the other, especially since there is no contract between the Airport Authority and Silver Comet for such an arrangement. Your choice to breach this contract and the inaction of this board to enforce it greatly disappoints the residents, making us feel very insecure and disrespected once again, since it's evident our welfare is not your priority, as Mr. Smith's is. What other legal obligations might you and this board arbitrarily decide to let Silver Comet out of? Making bond payments? Regardless, conduct like this does not help your cause or your image, so please don't complain when we express our opposition. Board members, the residents would greatly appreciate you doing the job you agreed to do when you took a seat on this authority by acting as a responsible board who is Mr. Swafford's boss. Please honor this contract, which requires Silver Comet to pay their $97,000 security balance. And I'd like to add that it's unbelievable you're this far into it, and this board is unclear on what a 139 is. It more than backs up my last statement. Thank you.
Okay, Sherry, you want to introduce yourself to us?
My name is Sherry Spirit, and it's nice to meet everyone. First time. Good morning and welcome to Airports in the 21st Century. Certainly, airport planning poses some real challenges. Today, I think we really have an opportunity to explore those challenges and, in a sense, change the conversation. This is what I would like to begin to do today. Change the conversation about aviation and change the conversation about expansion. It certainly requires re-examining our own public policies. I think that that is as true at federal level as it is at the local level. It means understanding the system needs of aviation in an economy, and at the same time balancing those needs within the community and environmental concerns. I know that is easier said than done. Most of all, I think what we are going to be asking ourselves and asking our colleagues over the next several months is how to bring the political will to the constituencies and to bring the constituencies together to make some very hard choices. Here's the history behind the Silver Comet Airport. The airport was originally designed for general aviation. However, later the runway was built to accommodate aircraft up to a Boeing 737 and an Airbus 310. Neither of these aircraft is intended for long-haul flights and was built more for regional flights spanning from Florida to New York. The Paulding County Board of Commissioners decided to expand the airport with Propeller Investments. Propeller is working with the Paulding County Airport Authority and Paulding Aerospace Alliance to develop Silver Comet and the surrounding area for limited commercial aviation use. Once developed, Silver Comet Field is expected to generate 2,000 to 3,000 jobs and $350 million for the local community. The revised intergovernmental agreement, IGA, proposed by Commissioner Bunnell would handicap the airport authorities, severely rendering it useless because it would remove the agreed upon annual funding over the next 10 years. This would severely place the airport at a disadvantage. Currently, there is a 5-member BOC with 3 of them anti-airport, which the revised IGA wording basically leaves the airport funding up to their discretion. Secondly, there are 4 lease agreements with Propeller and Paulding County Airport Authority, which means that Propeller would not be able to execute those lease agreements. Additionally, it would limit the airport's authority's jurisdiction to convert the airport into a commercial airfield. The revised IGA would more than likely cause Propeller Investments, Silver Comet Terminal Partners to sue the county and the airport authority for lost revenue if the airport was never to receive its Part 139 certification for commercial air service. Thus, Propeller would be forced to sue Paulding County. In the meantime, the stakeholders in Propeller that are partners with them outside of Paulding would sue them for their contract losses. In turn, Propeller would add those losses to their lawsuit against Paulding County. Guess who would have to pay that lawsuit? The citizens of Paulding County in the form of higher taxes. For example, let's say that Propeller expects to make $500K annually in profits, and the lease is for 40 years. That would cost $20,200,000 in profits. That's an additional loss of profits from outside stakeholders. There's an additional loss of other profits from outside stakeholders and other fees such as attorneys. Thus, lawsuits could end up costing Paulding taxpayers over $100 million in conclusion, everyone agrees that the August 2013 BOC meeting was not right and should not have been done in open forum. It should have been done in open forum. On the flip side of the coin, this was in the past, and we need to move forward, concentrating on a 21st century airport that generates a stronger economy. Exploring all the options is really what we want to do. Most importantly, though, I think what is at the heart of these issues is the challenge of how we find that difficult balance between the needs of the community, the needs of expanding the airport, and that we look within the county and address the concerns of all stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, any questions or comments?
I have one for Mr. Gazette. Oh, you talking about that? I'm sorry.
Just wait up.
I'm ready to open forum here.
Okay.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All right, y'all have a good night.
Airport Authority, IBA will begin in
3, 2, 1.
4 minutes. We'll say 5 after 11, I'm sorry.
challenge.
Okay. Tom,
I have a question.